The players, the personalities who come from around the world to play professional soccer in the United States.
Go, go, USA! Oh, it's incredible!
In a world where some call it football, football, or soccer, they dare to call it foosball. One thinks New York is blue. The other thinks New York is red. Soccer in America from a German perspective. Let them put some sauerkraut on your hot dog and join them for the Schnitzel Boys USA Hour.
Yes! Hello, welcome to the USA Hour.
It's the USA Hour. Welcome. Where some of us are happier than others this week.
You know what I rewatched last night, Bjorn?
What?
I watch every now and then. It's one of our most hit videos on our channel. I watch our own content. And I released it. We released it 11 months ago. It was
the Red Bull rant.
It was the Red Bull rant, the Is New York Red Bulls Dying video. And I rewatched it, and it's been a year. It's been 12 months since. And I have to ask myself, how much got better? And the answer is slim. I don't think anything got better.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, we have a lot to talk about, but on my mind, this weekend boiled down to one moment that broke my heart. One moment that you remember as a New York Red Bulls fan, as a fan of any club, certain moments stick with you, right?
Yeah.
Over the years, you're like, that moment when Hassan N'Dam got his second yellow card over the weekend, which led to a red card. And when that happened, at that moment, and then that free kick led to Chicago Fire getting a goal, making it 1-0 for them, and they won the game. That moment where Hassan N'Dam got that second yellow card, red card, was womp womp. It was like, well, boom, there goes the season. 50 isses, kaput, done. And that's exactly what happened. We had 4 games left in the season. We had a home game against Chicago, which hasn't won a game in, I think, 5 or 6 or even 7 matches. And then a home game. Those were the 2 games we absolutely had to win at a minimum. And we lost at home to Chicago. Yeah. So that's the end of that. There's a good chance we're only going to get 3 points for the next 3 games. So that's the end of it. And it boils down to Hassan N'Dam. Okay. Sean Nealis was supposed to be playing. He's the team captain. He's the center back. But he has a yellow card accumulation, so he was suspended for the game. And in the New York Red Bulls world, we don't have a bench.
You have Hassan N'Dam.
We have 1 center back. We have 3 center backs on the team. Andres Reyes, Sean Nealis, who play every week. And then Hassan N'Dam is our 1 reserve center back. And Hassan N'Dam is young, and he's raw, and, he's not amazing. But he was our only option. And then he filled in, and he got 2 really stupid yellow cards. 2 stupid yellow cards, got a red card, which was the kiss of death. I mean, the game was 0-0. We're going at each other. New York Red Bulls blitzkrieg. I hate to use that word, but it's appropriate. I hate to use that word, but it's appropriate. What's a better word, I guess? It was a raid. It was like a
smash and grab.
A smash and grab. Well, no, the New York Red Bulls were just attacking.
Attacking.
And Brady was saving.
All right. So that's
we have no finishers. We have setting up, we got passing, but we have no goal scorers. We just every time up front with Tom Barlow and Elias Manuel, straight to the keeper, like always, all season long. Their best friends are the opposing team's keeper because they always just give it right to them. But give it up for Brady, dude. The Chicago Fire keeper, he was saving and saving, and for about this was in the 65th, 67th minute, something like that. Just, there's 20 minutes of the game left. It's like, come on, we got to score 1, right? Because 0-0 doesn't do it. Then boom, and Dom gets a second yellow. They get a free kick. They score on the free kick. Game over.
You hit the crossbar, right? There were some
couple
moments.
Times. Yeah. And then in the first half, John Tolkien, who's our best goal scorer, by the way, is our left back.
Yeah.
John Tolkien scores a rocket from outside the box. Unfortunately, I think it was Luquinhas fouled a player in the box, it was disallowed.
Yeah.
But that would have been the winning goal. That would work for us. But so Hassan and Dom.
Son and Dom.
A year ago, we spent a lot of money for a sport director from Germany to come in, Joachim Schneider. And then we also have Dennis Handler, a technical director. Then we have Joachim Zawa, our head of scouting department, also from Germany. I think his name is. And then we have Mario Gomez, Red Bull Worldwide. And then we have this giant staffing department of player personnel that started a year ago. And in their genius of roster building, our team still doesn't have more than 3 center backs. What the F is that, Bjorn? I'm on Football Manager, and I'm coaching your Red Bulls. We have 6 center backs. Because I want more. Because I got a couple extra ones. Why don't we have center backs? Why do we have 3 roster building professionals that each get paid $1 million a year or whatever it is, and they don't know how to? Where's our roster, man? Where are they?
I mean, we're kind of in a similar boat actually when it comes to center backs, because we let Maxime Chanot go, and so I don't know. I mean, we don't have, knock on wood, our center backs are not hurt, but we don't have a lot of subs for them either. Yeah, it's weird.
Ours weren't hurt either. They were just center backs get yellow cards.
Right.
So they have a yellow card accumulation, which you should expect.
It's
right?
One thing I will say about our center backs: they do not get a lot of yellow cards, actually.
Well, is it because they let a lot of goals go in instead?
I don't know. Not that either. Our defense is not the problem. We have a pretty good. I think we're 3rd in the East or something when it comes to goals conceded. We're pretty good about goals conceded. We're just not scoring. But anyway, yeah,
that's just what I want to bring up. The whole our heart is broken.
You have no bench.
But the bigger issue is still the same. It's like, where is our team? Where is our depth? Where are our
promises
players?
have been made, right? There's been promises, more investment, more players.
Yeah, but Bjorn, I mean, is it forgiven? They should have done this 2 years ago.
Right.
What have they been doing these 2 years? Where are our players? And then they did the same thing this year they did last year. About a week or two ago, they finalized the signing of their new number 9, Cabeza, what's his face. And it's like the summer transfer window closed 2 months ago, or like the season's ending. We only have 5 games left. They did that with Elias Manuel last year. It takes them forever to figure it out. They only have a handful of games, and they have to wait a whole off season and try him the whole season. And if it's anything like Elias Manuel, this new guy's also going to be a bust. If you sign a player early in the summer and play him for the half season, you can then fire him in the off season. You don't need a whole nother season to see how bad he is.
See if he's good or not. Right.
What they're doing is they're like dragging their feet, sneaking him in, and then they're going to sneak a whole season out of this guy, even though we should have known that the dude's not ready to go from this season. So it's just the same old crap, man. The one good thing about that game was we had a decent crowd.
I saw it was 20,000 plus.
Yeah, it was like a crowd was there.
Announced. I don't know what was in the
Right, it's probably less than that. But I was like, hey, I haven't seen... It wasn't full house. It wasn't like the old days. It was still about half to 3/4 of a house or whatever. But, like, it's better than being almost empty, which we've seen way too much this season. And it's like there was a little bit of belief there. So whatever it is with their promises, and like I said, they recently revamped their marketing staff. I mean, the league, it must have been pressuring them to do something.
Something's happening.
But, people showed up, which was nice. I mean, they showed up to have the season end. But, and mathematically, we're not eliminated. But it's going to take a miracle.
Right. It's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult at this point to think.
Our next game. Tomorrow, we're at Cincy. And Cincy just clinched the Super
That's the big... I mean, unless you can catch them after they've been partying.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, tomorrow is the big night where all the games or almost all the games in hand... that everybody kind of in their heads counted as 3 points. They have to actually do that tomorrow to see if that's actually So we're not playing. We have no games in hand, so we're just gonna sit back and hope for the best, I guess.
Well, you guys had a good weekend, right? Oh, it was a bunch of 1-1.
Well,
Charlotte lost.
I mean the other results continue to really go our way. Montreal keeps losing. DC
us losing.
Yeah,
Montreal losing.
well. I mean, Chicago winning.
Chicago's
Chicago
up your
winning was
butt.
not great. I mean, a tie, of course, would have been best for us in that game. But overall, like DC United got a tie against Vancouver, which I thought they might lose that game. They were on the road, but they didn't. So, but overall, things keep going our way. We're in 8th place. We're up to 8th. We do have everybody has, like I said, everybody has games in hand, but we'll see this week whether that actually means anything or not.
Where would you host the play-in game if that happens? Citi Field?
I think at Citi Field, because the last game of the season has now officially been relocated to Citi Field, and the Mets are not making the playoffs. So I think that place should be available. I know Yankee Stadium is not, because they have some renovation thing or something. But yeah, Citi Field should be good for the play-in game, and for the, with the 3-game series, we would get another home game in the first round if we survive the play-in game. I mean, listening to you, I certainly feel, I mean, I say this without Schadenfreude, but like I definitely feel better, because that Miami game was a bit of a bummer, because we were on the verge of being in a really good spot, because if we had held on to that win, then we would have been at 40 points, and we would have been good with winning 1 out of 2. So that was, of course, a little dejecting, especially because, I mean, Nick Cushing was very clear about this in his press conference, where he felt like, Miami is getting the Bayern bonus or the Manchester United bonus, or these things that where there's extra. I mean, I definitely
the Bayern Drizzle. What's it called? Bayern Drizzle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where where the stoppage time is until Bayern scores the winner, and
Fergie time too, right?
Fergie time.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing this for Miami, even though they're not. Yeah, I mean, Nick Cushing put it nicely. I thought he said that they were rolled. It was going to be a red carpet event, and NYCFC were not going to be the guest of honor. We were just there to roll over, and I mean, I said, and obviously there's no. I'm not going to pretend that I'm neutral in any way, but when we got to the 90th minute, I mean, I see a lot of games. I have some sense, and I said, like, well, what do you think about stoppage? I was like, I think got to be 4 or 5 minutes. Nothing really happened. I said 4, maybe 5, and when the sign came up 7 minutes, I was like, oh, that's iffy. And then, of course, 5 minutes in, it's when we get. Concede a set piece header. I mean, that's always very sad. After Miami really had not done, I think Matt Freese didn't have anything to do really the whole game. They were pretty toothless. Now,
Miami
was without, yes, it was without Messi, without Jordi Alba, without DeAndre Yedlin.
I was going to say Yedlin was also absent of suspension, right? Yeah,
he had suspension, so they were missing a bunch of people. They had also played on Wednesday. We had a week off. There was we had a lot of things going for us, but really, ultimately, we can't blame the ref, because in the first half we had some big chances, and it was really up to we should have had we should have been a couple goals up at halftime. And then the second half, I don't know, with these Florida road games, I don't know. I guess it's hot. People just get a little tired. We were just looking to defend. And then, we did not have a good second half. And after we failed to capitalize on all these chances in the first half, didn't have a great second half. And we're really, and then Nick Cushing took out, Munsif Bakra, our number 9 striker, took him out for Keaton Parks, who is a lot of things, but he's not a striker. So it was like, okay, we're going to just hold on to this scoreless result. And then Santi Rodriguez, really out of nothing, scored a goal that was similar that Takuma Asano scored against Germany in the World Cup. This like up against 2 defenders, drifts wide right, and then just kind of hits it hard in the short corner, and it goes by the goalie's head. And that was, of course, it was a big deal at the bar, at Banter in Williamsburg. We went nuts.
Oh, were you at the bar? That's fun.
Yeah, I was with a few few friends at the yeah, that's a great place, by the way. Anybody who's looking for a soccer bar in Williamsburg, Banter is amazing. Anyway, so nice. They're so nice there. I guess it's like a Cincinnati. It's not really an NYCFC bar. It's a Cincinnati bar, actually. There were a lot of Cincinnati fans. Yeah, and I mean, it's also, I think, like they have, but somehow the Cincinnati fans, that's why they congregate. There were a lot of them celebrating the Supporters Shield. But in the back, they had the NYCFC game on. Anyway, so that would have been fun to win that game. In the end, the 1-1 was pretty good and puts us in 8th place. And I mean, at this point, if we win our last 2 games, we're in. I mean, I think that's not entirely true mathematically.
You only have 2 games left, right?
We have 2 games left. But I would say if we are still in a playoff spot after this Wednesday, after everybody else plays their game in hand, then
it's yours to lose.
Then I'm going to start to believe, yeah.
What are your last 2 games again?
We are at DC United and at home against Chicago.
Yeah, those are 2 doable games.
Those are, yeah. I mean, and we could, I think,
Chicago. Did you watch the Chicago Red Bulls game at all? Because there was a delay.
A little bit, so. Not that much. It was a little. Yeah, I saw
Chicago.
Yeah,
that was a smash and grab. I mean, Shaqiri was running around being a piece of crap with his arms up in the air all the time. He was useless. Like, Chicago is not a good team this year. Us losing them at home was bonkers. But so you should be able to do better than we did.
I think we're going to definitely. I haven't entirely figured this out, but I guess it also depends on how these games go on Wednesday. But there's a pretty good chance that we're going to go into our last game not eliminated. So that's already pretty cool. I mean, like,
yeah, it makes the last game exciting.
Because that's that I would not have put a lot of money on that like 3 weeks ago.
All right, we got
that was but lots of chatting going on. Let's catch up.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah, and we've been all over the place with up and down and but this weekend NYCFC is up and Red Bulls is out. So we failed and you succeeded. I mean, knock on wood. It's still, the fat lady hasn't sung yet. We still have to wait a couple weeks. But for NYCFC, the hope is there, and our hope is gone. Unless, technically we can go to Cincinnati and Nashville and win, and technically, we get 9 points over the next 3 games.
Right.
And I'm sure the belief is strong amongst the players. I'll give them that. They play hard. And I'm hoping they're not as disheartened as I am. But to the chat, Hans Wolf says, hello.
Hello, Hans.
Are you drinking your Gosling rum tonight? Like a good Monday night rum night? And then Seba S., my Red Bulls brother in the chat. Nice job from NYCFC. Well conceded from a fan. Red Bulls need to miss the playoffs because they need to rebuild, be bad, and get stronger. He's saying and become a top 3 team. You know what? Amen, brother. Yeah. In the great
appreciate the kind words about NYCFC.
You got to go away.
Gracious in defeat.
You got to go away to come back, and it's time for the Red Bulls to go away. Because, like I said, they need to figure it out. Seba S. playing FIFA 15. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Football Manager lately. You know that one? It's like on Twitter, someone made a joke about it. It's been a yearly game since 1992, so it's as old as FIFA. And it's about being a boss, and you sign contracts and fill out paperwork and stuff like that. That's the whole point of the game. And do tactics. And then there's a guy on Twitter or a lady on Twitter is like, my boyfriend likes this game where he just fills out paperwork all day. Is that what video games are for boys?
Yeah,
or something like that.
I've resisted trying out Football Manager because I fear that it could take over my life very easily.
Yeah. I'll sit there for a 6-hour shift, no problem.
I bet.
I do full seasons in 2 days. It's just like I need to slow down or something. But the Red Bull, so the Football Manager engine. I'm going to let's do the chat before I get into a Football Manager side thing.
FIFA 15. That's funny, right? That's old. No, FIFA 15.
Yeah, I mean there's one every year. FIFA 15 is one of the good ones. What are you playing on?
Oh, so there's a reason. There's a reason to hold on to older versions because
it doesn't update much. Yeah. You buy one every 5 or 10 years.
Okay.
And then they're all like FIFA 15 versus FIFA. I think mine is FIFA 20. It's not the same game pretty much. Are you playing on a computer, Sebas? Or are you playing it on Xbox? Or what's the deal? As Red Bulls fan, I hope NYCFC will make the playoffs and win the cup so they can show Red Bull that we suck as a New York team. Well, that's a little too extreme for me.
Amen, brother.
They already have their cup. That's been done.
I mean, there's I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I think we're going to win the cup this year. I don't think we will.
Daniel Young in New Jersey by the Prudential Center. Devils won 6-5. Yeah, I'm not really a hockey guy, but it seems like the Devils are crushing. And then I'm playing as Mainz as a manager. Oh, yeah, I think FIFA has like a manager mode. They're kind of trying to copy Football Manager. Mm-hmm. Anyway, back to Football Manager. So the way Football Manager works is it's a big AI. It's like a computer. It emulates teams, managers, players, clubs, everything. So I play as the New York Red Bulls. And then, and then the most bonkers stuff happens. They have this glitch where, like, if you play in Europe, sometimes during a UEFA Champions League semifinal, all of your players are on international duty or something, or they're traveling from international duty. And it's like in real life, the players, like the FIFA dates don't overlap with the Champions League dates in real life.
Right.
And when I became the New York Red Bulls manager, the first thing that happened was Ryan Miera complained because he was a backup keeper. And I was like, what? He's been a backup keeper for 10 years. I call bull on that. He's just like, I want to play. It's like, no, Ryan, no, you don't want to play, okay? Don't screw with me. And then I brought in a draftee to play with me that no one signed because I had no draft picks. And then he tried with me for 4 weeks, and he was amazing. And my assistant coach was like, we should sign him. So I offered him a contract to play for the New York Red Bulls first team. And then he says no, and he signs with the LA Galaxy 2 team in the USL. And I'm like, what? It's like, you were trialing with me. And the other big glitch is the MLS rules are so complicated, which is a little foreshadowing into a topic I'm going to get into later, that the AI gets stuck. So it's common.
The AI is like, what? Tam game?
100%. They sign. The way it works is you can sign whoever you want, but then you have to be registration compliant, right? You have to have a certain salary. You can buy salaries down with TAM and GAM, but the computer doesn't understand that, so they'll sign big players and then terminate them the next day, and they'll just be freeze all the time. Or you'll be in a situation like me with my Minnesota save. Was during the registration date halfway the season, I couldn't be roster compliant. I had to quit the game. All of the salaries of my players made too much money, and I couldn't sell them, trade them, nothing. I was just stuck. And it's common if you play this game that it's stuck. You have to like close it and then start a new game. Or something like that. So, more power to it. It's just all this Football Manager stuff is funny, like a Will Bruin could be like the Bundesliga leading scorer next season. That kind of stuff, random stuff like that. But anyway, that is my Football Manager talk.
Okay.
Daniel Young, excited by
excited by this NYCFC team right now. I'm glad you are. I'm excited we're in it. I mean, it's just it's fun. Like, I really didn't think we would be at this point, and that's good. There's still, like, I don't know. I was a little down on Monsef Bakra on this after this Miami game. He had some pretty open looks that he didn't convert on. I think it's still a little, I don't know. The substitutions are still wild. Thales Magno went off hurt. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, it's still a weird year. But yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to be excited also.
Well, how do you feel? Like, I'm upset because what happened was a symptom of a much bigger problem for our club. Are you like, it's okay, they've got players, they have, how many center backs do you have? You know what I mean? Well,
we're definitely a little short there. I think, Chanot, once he lost his starting spot, it got kind of, I guess, was upset. And
that was an off-field thing, right?
Left in a huff. Well, It seems like, I don't know. There's some, there's some chatter behind the scenes. It seems like, I don't know. It's unclear. It's unclear what happened exactly, but it seems like he was perhaps upset that he lost the starting spot, and then just sort of left in a huff. His wife is his manager. she has sort of a history of like going off on social media anytime he doesn't get a start, and so I don't know. It seems like there's some volatility there in his in his team. So
Are you saying there's a Lady Macbeth thing going on?
I'm not. I don't want to. I don't know her personally. I don't want to like. That's a pretty.
You should be king.
That's a pretty. That's pretty harsh. But
out them spots.
It seems like that's maybe what it was. He lost a spot, and he hasn't had an offer from a place he wanted to be at. Corsica is beautiful. I mean, you cannot. That has to be part of the consideration. That is a beautiful, beautiful place, and if you get to play there professionally, that's something you got to consider. Anyway, so we could certainly use another center back. I think probably it'd be Justin Hack. I guess would be next up if somebody went.
Guy's a hack. That guy's a hack.
Good one. A pun. I love a pun. I love a pun on somebody's name.
I know almost nothing about that guy, but I'm going to call him a hack because he is a hack. He's a Justin Hack.
He's Justin Hack. I don't think. I don't think we have significant systemic problems. I think a lot of people had that theory for part of the season that the team is not going to spend money because they have the stadium to worry about, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's true. We've been, we haven't been like super huge spenders over the last few years, but we have, we've some of the stuff hasn't panned out. Like Talles Magno has underproduced for the 10 million that he cost. Like, that's the problem with these MLS transfers on young, you pay 10 million for a young kid. Liverpool can do that 4 times. And if one of them comes good, that's great. For in MLS, you do it once, and if that doesn't work out, then you're stuck with that for a little bit. So I don't think it's a systemic problem. I think people are very down. The fan base is very down on Nick Cushing. I have a little bit come around to that. There were some.
You texted me over the weekend that Cushing's days are numbered, right? And you say he's gone pretty much?
No, that's the Bochum guy.
Right.
I was talking about the Bochum coach. I don't know what is. I think if we miss the playoffs, I think this is very much a result thing. I think I would say if we miss the playoffs, he is probably gone. If we make it past Cincinnati, he'll definitely stay. And anything in between, I think we'll find out. I don't know. That's just my sense. I don't have any inside info or anything, but I mean, his subs, I don't know, like the subs are sometimes a bit of a head scratcher, and he keeps starting Kevin O'Toole over Brian Kufre, which is also, I find that a little discon. I mean, Kevin O'Toole is not that good a left back in my opinion.
In Football Manager, in my game, Brian Kufre is the biggest star in MLS. He's like the super rock star.
Really?
Yeah, and whenever we play NYCFC, the journalists always ask me what my Brian Kufre plan is.
Is that true? No, you're just making that up.
No,
Really?
I'm not making that. I'm telling you, Football Manager, the AI.
That's amazing. That's
the
wild.
AI. It's AI, so it it's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think of him quite that way, but I do think he's probably better than walk-on Kevin O'Toole. I don't know. It's yeah. So
what
there's
position? He's a left back.
Left
Was
back.
he?
Yeah,
Oh,
left
yeah.
back.
Seba was at
so
the Chicago Fire game, by the way. He said the attendance was great. Yeah, we mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah,
that was one of 2 bright
people
spots.
showed
I'll tell you the other bright spot in a second. What were you saying?
Anyway, so to answer your question briefly, I don't think we have systemic problems. We may or may not get a new coach. I think we do definitely need also some more reinforcements at some positions, but in general, I think the team signs people, and it's like everything. We had a lot of great. I mean, we had a lot of really good players that we got as bargains, and they had a couple like Tinnerholm, Collins, Maxi Morales, even that had some time to develop, and they did, and they were, and then they are bargains, and you can't find players of that quality for the same rate. We've talked about that, so I think we'll be all right.
All right, good. At least for now, but a lot to look forward to. At least for now,
and the stadium is
coming.
Is coming. They're about to. I think it was supposed to maybe be today, but I think it might be now in 2 weeks that officially it goes out of committee and into the land approval process or whatever, and then after that it's going to be real. So the steps are taken and it's going to happen. Looks like.
Excellent.
They've solved the parking. There was another parking hiccup. Steve Cohen, the Mets owner, wanted to leverage his parking spots to get his casino. He has plans to build a casino over there.
Really?
And he was holding back his parking in order to get some leverage. But apparently NYC said we don't need your parking. There's enough other parking to satisfy the zoning requirements. So this is not going to hold things up, because eventually he's going to let us use his parking. What's he going to do? Just be like, no, I don't want the money because I'm mad at you. Like, yeah, no. Right. I mean, so
that's
anyway.
New York politics stuff. That's the mafia. I've talked about this before. It's the mafia getting their piece.
No, it's hard to build things. Build things in New York. But it seems to be happening. Anyway, what were you going to say?
So the one bright spot that the New York Red Bulls are just tweeting over and over. The only thing they're talking about is they gave a debut to a 15-year-old kid, Julian Hall.
Oh, is that true? Okay.
Yeah, Julian Hall, our new Wunderkind from the Red Bull youth system, who put a different name on his jersey. I guess he has a big dual name situation. It was like a long Polish name, Tsukakowski or something. But anyway, he came on the field. He played. He's the second youngest player after Freddie Adu to play in the league or whatever. And he was, uneventful, and he's young. He's 15
years old.
Is it A, because he is a wunderkind, or B, because the New York Red Bulls has no players and they're just like, let's get the next youngest kid we can get our hands on? I mean, they've been playing. Everyone on that team's a freaking teenager. He's just the youngest of the teenagers. The other players are 18.
We also, I think, my public service announcement would be to just leave them, make like Pink Floyd and leave them kids alone. Like,
yes.
It's
amen, man.
It's it's such a the odds are never in somebody's favor. Them getting there younger, maybe is good, maybe is not. You don't know necessarily what's gonna happen, and it's just
Seba S knows.
This kid is going to be a god and be the best striker of all time for the New York Red Bulls. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm advising against. These kinds of.
If I were in charge, I would send him to. I was about to say Ajax Amsterdam, but that place seems to be a dumpster fire right now.
Leave them alone. Let the kids do their thing. It's rare that they pay. A lot of the odds are always against it. Most kids who are very talented and promising, most kids don't make it. That's just the reality of it. And so whenever you see a 14, 15, 16-year-old and you're discussing their future, you don't know anything. You don't know anything about it, and just leave them alone.
Who was that NYCFC kid?
Maximo Carrizo. Yeah, he's still, he's kicking around. I think he's playing for NYCFC too, and he got called into the Argentinian under 17. So it seems like he's doing stuff, but it's like, we don't know. You don't know if he's going to be really any good for a long time. And the less attention paid, I think, the better for everyone involved.
Every time a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old comes onto the scene, there was a guy named Neil Lemty back in the day, Kubo, that Norwegian guy. There's always these 15, 16-year-olds. 99 times out of 100, they're too young. And so just let them. With this Julian Hall kid, the big issue with U.S. youth development is 16 to 18. Right? Those are the two key years we really don't know that's where we fail, where Europe succeeds. So,
and for every Alphonso Davies, there's 15 others that are never heard from again. Yeah.
Every Alphonso Davies has 30 Freddie Adus. And so for Julian Hall,
and even Freddie Adu had an actual, he wasn't Pelé, but he had a career, to some extent.
But Freddie Adu
had
offers to go to Inter Milan, Manchester United, and I think Barcelona for their youth academies, right? To learn how to play. Yeah, and the marketing machine said, say no to all of that. You're a star now, kid.
But then how can you say no? You can't blame him. Like, how can you say no to that? You have
I'm blaming MLS. I'm blaming MLS.
Yeah, leave the kids alone. Let them play and see what happens. We'll see what happens. See what happens when they're 18, 17.
Send Julian Hall to Salzburg. Let him play for Liefering. Let him, let him grow.
I'm not even saying that. I don't even think not everybody has to go to Europe. Sometimes it's nice. It's if you're ready, if you're good enough, you're old enough. If you get some time, that's good. But just don't put any extra pressure.
My concern is that, well, I said like the 15 to 18, 16 to 18. I'd much rather Julian. Julian Hall.
I thought you were joking, Sebas. He said I was joking. Maybe
Oh,
you will
right.
become a good player.
Yeah. No, we know. We were laughing. We were laughing with
Right.
it. No, but if I'm Julian Hall, I would do whatever it takes to get my ass over to La Masia or Ajax Amsterdam and hang out with their youth team, the second team, and learn over there because it's like a grad school for football. I guarantee it's second training there, second to none. And then when you're 18 and you're out of that system, then go play senior football and see what you got. I'm a little worried that hanging out in the USL or here at MLS Next Pro, and I'm wondering if that's the best. I wonder if that, I'm just curious if for 16-year-olds with that kind of potential, if it'd be a little wasted, it might stump their growth.
Yeah, I guess it's to be determined. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what the route that Carrizo is taking. He's gotten. I haven't checked lately, but he was getting a lot of time for the second team. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's also relatively new still. MLS Next Pro, we don't really know how that ranks in the development world. Yeah, these are tough. It's hard to know. Hard to know what the right move is. I understand sometimes. Yeah, the depending on who the parents are, how the people surrounding the player are, their attitude is. So yeah, it's a difficult thing.
There's a big trend in U.S. youth soccer today. I have 3 topics I want to talk about, including this one, because this all right. It's something I've always wanted to bring up and never got around to it. U.S. youth soccer is Wild West. Always has been. It's always been the issue. MLS Next Pro is yet another attempt to try to rein it in, and more power to them. But
MLS Next Pro, Nick, is just hold on.
MLS Next or whatever.
MLS Next Pro is just so that the academy kids that are not ready for first team, that they still have a place to play. I think that's really the idea.
Right. However, there's this trend in U.S. youth soccer that we've been seeing over the last couple of years that is very interesting to me, and I think there's a much bigger story at play that no one's talking about. And America's best youth don't sign for MLS Next Pro. Who do they sign for, Bjorn?
America's
USL.
Best Youth?
Yeah, the USL.
Is that true?
Yes. Because the best 15 and 16-year-olds, like a Joe Gomez, will play for Louisville City SC or whatever it's called for 2 years. And then when he's 16 with an EU passport or 18 without one, he'll then go to Real Sociedad, where he's going. And then he'll go do his B team football there. But I'm seeing this, a lot of players now are signing with a USL club instead of MLS. And then a year or two will go by. And then what do you know? They've been signed by a European club to go to the youth team. And the reason they're doing that is because a USL team will give you a year or two contract. And then when you're 18, you're a free agent and you go to Europe for free. Mm-hmm. MLS, on the other hand, owns their players. Mm-hmm. And MLS is notoriously finicky with letting players go. Mm-hmm. So for a young 14-year-old with promise, I think they're faced with 2 options. Like, let's say I went to high school in Raleigh, North Carolina. Let's say you're a Raleigh, North Carolina superstar, the North Carolina FC.
Your favorite place in the world.
Every place in the world. And then you're the biggest and you're the best. And then DC United calls and wants to turn you into a homegrown Charlotte now. Charlotte calls, wants to turn you into a homegrown, come MLS Next Pro. But we own your rights. You have to sign a 4-year contract that only we control. And then, in order for you to go to Europe, you have to do this thing where you just go over there and appear on their Twitter account and then kidnap yourself and force MLS to sell you, which we've seen so many times before. Or North Carolina Football Club calls from Raleigh, ring, 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 ring. They'll be like, how about you play with us? Senior team football, USL. It's a year-to-year contract.
So
But when
where
you're
do these
18
so these kids do not come? Where do they come from? They don't come from MLS Academy teams. They just come from other.
probably involved with some MLS academy. I mean, how does youth soccer work? I don't know. They play for some club team. I don't really know, but they're really well scouted. And I should have, like I said, I didn't really know we were talking about this tonight because it just came up. But like, I've seen a trend. I could name 5 to 6 players in the last year where that's been the story, where they end up signing with Orange County. I think there was a kid here in the area. He signed with Orange County SC instead of the Galaxy. And then wouldn't you know, when he turned 16, all of a sudden he went to Borussia Mönchengladbach or something like that. And my theory is European scouts are telling them to sign for USL club for a year or two. And then when you're 18, we will legally sign you, which can't be legal. I'm sure that's against FIFA regulation, which is why it's kind of a quiet story. No one's really talking about it. But why else would all these kids very confidently sign for a lower league club? And then wouldn't you know, when they're 18 to go to Europe, as opposed to MLS? Wouldn't you think that MLS is the better pathway, right?
I mean, if you get a contract Europe, I mean, but this is, that's what we want, right? This is what we're all. You're saying
Yeah,
it's
I know,
like
but it can't be a coincidence, right? It can't be.
No, but I'm saying it also it's a positive for USL, right? Like, that's. I mean, if USL is at a high enough level that people feel like that's a good enough stepping stone. I mean, I'm sure it is at least as good as MLS Next Pro, perhaps better. And
but
I think that's a
that's what I'm saying. Like, why would they? I guarantee you, they're getting phone calls from these scouts and these teams, and they're like, "Listen, we can't legally tell you this, but I'm not going to sign you when you're an MLS kid 18. We're not going to pay MLS any money, so you have to go sign with the USL club."
Well, I mean, you're saying it like something sinister is happening, but I'm sure that's just sort of a calculus. They're like, if I can go on a. I mean, it's always easier if you go on a free, you're always going to have more options. I mean, but then it's also a mixed bag. If somebody's not paying, then they also don't feel the obligation necessarily to develop. And
so if I'm MLS,
they're always tough. Well, and if you're MLS and you don't like this, then you got to change the rules. I mean, this is always this is the problem. I mean, this is what everybody, the pro rail people are always like, oh, this is what is holding us back. But now, if there's other options, if you have USL, if you have a bigger landscape, then that forces MLS to adapt and become more open. So it's really, it sounds like it's all a positive.
Well, it's definitely a positive for youth development. Like, a lot of these kids are going to Bundesliga. There was a new one a couple weeks ago. I really should have written up their names. I'll come up with a summary of examples and do a further analysis, a little deeper analysis later. But if I'm MLS, like you said, like, this is an issue. The best youth players aren't being signed by MLS clubs or being signed by USL clubs and then sent to Europe. So if I'm the MLS,
but I mean, the very best youth players are go to Europe already, if they have any option, like the Gio Reynas and the Christian Pulisics that have passports or that have other, they do this already.
Right. And if I'm MLS, that's a problem. I need to figure that out because they're getting $0 off any of this stuff. And the way it works in Brazil,
why would they deserve any dollars of players that they're not?
Because they're supposed to be developing our youth. I'm saying our youth system is still Wild West. And in Brazil, when I went to high school in Brazil, I was at a Corinthians high school. The Corinthians football club youth coaches came to our school, watched our soccer teams. My friend Alex was our high school goalkeeper. The Corinthians goalkeeper coach from the youth academy would come in once a week and do workshops with him, and we were a Corinthians school. So if we had what it takes, off to Corinthians we go to play in their youth academy, play in their pros, and then from there go on to Europe for money. The Brazilians get money because they develop the player. They deserve it. And it's a bottom line thing. It's part of making money. If you're a developmental league like the MLS.
Well, in Brazil, that's like their fifth biggest, isn't that true? Their fourth or fifth biggest export according by percentage of GDP is soccer players.
Probably. I don't know. I mean, probably, yeah. And the way clubs down there make money is through sales. They don't make money off the soccer itself. And, it's just something that MLS needs to look at.
But this is a little
What's
bit.
the-
I mean, the U.S. is a little different. It's a big. I mean, it's a big country. It's like there's a lot of room for it. It's a lot of, and especially with the. I mean, it's still all very much developing. No, so
It's
there's a lot
so
of
big.
ways,
It's so big that it's almost the same size as Brazil. That's how big it is.
but not in terms of people, right? We have. Is that true? All right. Well, never mind then. Forget it. I'll take that back. I'll take that
What do you
part
think, was
back.
it Brazil and
How
Ireland?
many people are Brazil? How many people live in
When
Brazil?
I was in Brazil, and I'm a little bit being facetious. You are correct, because Brazil is the same size as the United States, but the western half of
well, I
Brazil
mean,
is a-
so
is
is
a
Russia,
rainforest.
but it's like you're not gonna.
No, Russia is bigger than the United States, but like,
right.
but most
that's
of
what I'm
Russia
saying.
is
It's
a
not
frost
about
tundra. Right.
people like fields don't play soccer.
When I lived in Brazil, the country had a population of 180 million people.
Oh, that's like way more than I would have guessed.
No,
So-
Brazil's huge, but the United
so,
States was 300 million people, so it's about
okay.
2/3. Let's
No,
call
but
it-
I mean, still,
third
like your
smaller.
point also is
Yeah.
valid. It's a big country.
Brazil has Rio de Janeiro, Brasilia, Sao Paulo. Like there are states and cities everywhere. You know, there are clubs. Recife. There's like 4 or 5 at least big clubs in every major city.
Right,
Like
right,
I said,
right.
where I lived was Corinthians was the next club, and out in the country there are country clubs too. So like it's apples and oranges because Brazil's a soccer country. However,
Yeah, I mean,
here
here
in
these
the
things-
United States, people right away will be like, the reason we can't is because all I hear is can't. It's
Right.
American, not
Well,
American.
it's a different. I mean,
Let's
it's
figure it
just
out.
it's a very different thing because it is still so much changing. And I mean, these MLS academies we didn't have a few years,
True.
a bunch of years ago. There was like the development academy. There's all these mechanisms that keep changing. So obviously, people are trying to game the system, game this ever-changing system as best they can, and they're going to look for other. And the more you're going to, like these MLS, MLS is trying to be all things to all people, but because of their closedness and all their rules and stuff, it's not, that doesn't always work out in favor of the player. I mean, we have this.
Are NYCFC
we have
coaches
this-
going to the high schools and checking up on players?
I think there's a lot going on. Yeah, they definitely. I mean, I don't
Let's
know.
hope they are. Like I said, where
I mean,
used to
it's
live in
also
Brooklyn-
different. It's not like I think the soccer just happens more on at a higher level, happens at a club level more than a school level. I think here it's probably different in Brazil.
Well, no, it's scouting. I'm saying that scouting.
No, I think I
Yeah.
mean I don't know if they sent scouts into high schools, but they definitely they have all these feeder like the Met Oval or all these youth organizations where they definitely try to pick the best players for the academy for sure. That's definitely a thing.
It can always it's going in the right direction.
But it
I agree with
also
you,
but it
we need to
also
do better.
then sometimes the younger kids, they also then when they have other options, sometimes they decide to sign, like the Christian McFarlanes or the Maximo Caruzos. They have probably had other options in Europe, and also because they have other passports, so they have more, it's easier for them to move places. So then the team has to give them a contract, not because they're like better than anybody else, but because they have other options and they don't want them to leave. And they sign the contract, and so then they're kind of locked into that system, and other players maybe want more flexibility. I think this is all good news. The way
Right.
it
It is, but for MLS,
in the
they
sense
still
that
need to figure it out. They need to figure out what their role in all this is, because the USL has no money. So why are they in charge of our youth system? What I'm saying is MLS is getting better, but they can't. But all I hear are excuses of why it's not as good as it could be. It's like figure it out. Like
so I'm trying to understand what your issue is. Your issue is that not all the best players are going to be funneled to MLS, but that's what we were talking about before anyway.
Let me change that wording because it's not.
Okay.
My issue is MLS should be financially motivated by developing. It started with being as good as Ajax and La Masia, right? They have these superstar youth academy, super grad schools where 16-year-olds can go and become better and better. And by the time they're 18, they're good to go. Here in the United States, we're still figuring that out. We don't have the 16 to 18. So it's Wild West. And right now, 16-year-olds are signing for a USL club because they can keep warm for a couple of years, and then when they're legally 18, then go to Europe as an 18-year-old to do 18 to 21. When more than half of them, it's already too old. We need to figure out the 14 to 18, the 16 to 18, and that's on our clubs. That's on MLS to do that.
But they're not
MLS
going
has
to
the
get
money to do that.
time. They're not going to get time in MLS necessarily.
They have to have the flexibility to control them, train them, and then when they need to go to Europe, let them go for free to cheap. You know what I'm saying? Train them, control them, and when it's time for them to grow, let them go. Right now, they're being forced to not sign with MLS because MLS is going to maintain their rights.
Well,
and
I
sit
think
on them
that's
for 5
I
years.
think that's the problem that
Right.
that
MLS
MLS
needs to
doesn't
fix
have the.
itself.
I mean, I think NYCFC has that policy where they've been very. They don't generally pound on the letter of the contract, and they, you know, if somebody wants to go and they have offers, they usually accommodate the player. Now this is not the case for all teams. Some teams, you know, there's lots of stories where players have wanted to leave and then they can, and the teams make them stay, or then people just leave and break their contracts, and then that causes. So yeah, I mean that's always an issue when you have these unilateral, you know, these very restrictive contracts where teams have unilateral options. They can decide after season whether they want to extend it or not, and not every player likes that. And that's just really freedom of the marketplace, I feel like, right? And like that's for the players to decide what they're comfortable with, and I think that's I'm okay with that. Not everybody, and not every 15, 16-year-old has to go to MLS either. They're not all, you know, most of them are not going to make it anyway.
Yeah, they're incentivized not to right now, which is the issue.
Yeah, and that's
that needs to be, that's on MLS to fix. You're right. It's ultimately a good thing for young Americans to go to Bundesliga at 18. But my thing is they're already too old. They should have been training 14 to 18. There should be the United States used to have a high school training program in Florida. They shut it down. It was our version of the
development academy you're talking about.
Fontaine. What's the thing in France? There's a thing in France.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
Something, the one that Henri, and the one that all the French players are from. Ajax Amsterdam, La Masia, you know, the German regional youth centers. England has a youth systematic.
But even most of those kids don't pan out.
I know. However, I understand that. Just the odds are 1 out of 100 are only going to make it through. That part I understand. However, the 18-year-olds coming out of these super academies are not the same as the 17-year-olds playing in our MLS Next Pro thing. They're given way more tools, right? They're set up way more to succeed. The soccer is too competitive for you to waste those years. You know, we've come a long way from Freddie Adu being drafted and being given the weight room and just playing first team soccer. You know, we've come a long way from that. I'll concede that. However, everyone will tell you, Bruce Arena, Bob Bradley, everybody, the problem in the United States is, what do the 16-year-olds do? How do we take care of our 16-year-olds? And we still don't really have an answer to that. So that's all. And they have to take care of themselves. They sign for USL Club for a year or two, then off to Europe they go. And that's still our best option. That's what they would have done in the 80s, right? Shouldn't we have done more? Shouldn't we control that more? But I don't want to. We have 2 big topics to talk to. We're already 53 minutes in.
Oh, you got more? You got more rants? You got a couple more rants in you?
The 2 topics I want to talk about.
All right.
A season tickets went viral this week.
Yes.
And B, Andre Blake has a Philadelphia Inquirer article about MLS having too many games. And we heard from Stevie Cherundolo. We heard from Tata Martino. LAFC lost to Real Salt Lake last night. They're still slipping and sliding. So these are the 2 big topics I want to touch on. Let's pick one, right?
Well,
let's pick the season tickets. How about that? Or what do you want to talk about?
We can do both of those. I think the LAFC thing struck me a little bit as, like, you know, sore losers. Ryan Hollingshead went on afterwards and said, something about too many gay, or like the roster, because I was like, you missed your penalty in the shootout, man. Like, that's because the roster's too
don't cheapen what
small.
Tata said, what Steve Cherundolo said. Everybody's saying the same thing. Tata said if we won,
I think Tata
what
has
did he
the
say?
best.
He said if
I
we
think
won
Tata
the
has a
playoffs,
good has the best case. They've played Miami's played a lot of games between the
we
Leagues
all
Cup.
have this best case. This is an MLS problem we're talking.
I
about.
don't. How many games has LAFC played this season? I think it's significantly less than Liverpool or Bayern.
True. Leagues Cup, League, playoffs, Open Cup. We had a whole new tournament shoved in the middle of our season. Leagues
Yeah,
Cup,
but most people played 3 games and that was it.
And then if you go all the way through to the final, that is, especially with 3, let's see, it's 34 regular season games. A playing game makes 35. A 3-part series makes 38. And then what? It's the quarters thing. So if you win the league, that's 41 games, which is 7 more games than the Bundesliga. The Bundesliga ends at 34, and that's the whole season.
But Bayern has Champions League and
I know,
Cup
but,
and then you have national team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But are you saying LAFC and Bayern have the same roster budget? The same depth and roster?
Well, they don't, but they also
not even close. Bayern Munich has 40 players because they can also.
I think to a point, I always scratch my head a little bit when when Bayern complain, because they complain about this too, or the Premier League, or it's like you have basically unlimited budget. You could play more people, or Jurgen Klopp. It's like it's only a problem if you have to start Mo Salah every time. Like you have other, you could play other people, and I think in MLS it's the same. You have you have 30 roster spots, and Philly's played. Somebody was saying has played 23 people this year, and they have more. No, I mean, should we spend more money? Should we have bigger rosters? Of course.
Sounded for a second you were saying that the MLS teams were deep enough to handle our competition.
Well, I think it's always a problem of, you keep running out the same people. Yeah, if you. And in the Open Cup, that doesn't happen, by the way. In the early rounds, all the MLS teams are B teams, and
LAFC just had the Campeones Cup, right? That's an extra game.
That's what they were complaining about, and
they had the Leagues Cup and the Campeones Cup and the CONCACAF Champions Cup.
How far did LAFC go in the Leagues Cup? How many? I don't know.
Which one? The one that just happened over the summer?
The Leagues Cup. How many?
They went to the semis. They were buyed into.
Oh, so
they didn't have to do group stage.
So they played 3 games.
3 or 4, yeah, 3 games, I think. But I don't want to nickel and dime any of that stuff.
I think. Listen, there's lots of things. There's lots of things. They should obviously, if they spent more money, they'd get better players, and they'd have but they still wouldn't. It still wouldn't be. It's not a roster thing because everybody has these. That's what I'm saying. Everybody has these complaints. Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola make these same points. So it's not like, oh, you get more players, and then all of a sudden you're still going to want to play your best team every chance you get. So they are still going to be like that's the same. And in MLS, then maybe you need to stretch it a little more. You need to.
Well, hold on. It's different though. It's Europe and it's apples and oranges. And I get what you're saying about them complaining. That's them complaining, whatever. However, in MLS, an MLS team like a Philly can play in the Champions Cup and the Leagues Cup. That'd be like if Bayern Munich played in the Champions League and the Europa League. It's usually one or the other. Then they have the Campeones Cup, just a one-up as an extra game.
That's one game.
But then they have MLS. Then they have U.S. Open Cup, right? That's 5 or 6 tournaments a season for MLS Cup. A European team only plays 3. League, Cup, Champions League, if you're good. A club like Bochum only plays Bundesliga and Pokal, right? Are they playing anything else?
Yeah, Bochum they're not complaining. That's true.
But what I'm saying is like Bochum plays less games than Philly. In fact, considerably less games. And Bochum has a bigger wage bill than Philly. I'm sure that's the case. Or if it's close to it, it's a little more well-rounded. So take Bochum and give them 6.
Bayern played
give Bochum 5
but LAFC
titles.
Is like Bayern. They're not like Bochum. They're like Bayern in this. In MLS,
the Bochum wage.
Bayern played 55 games last season.
Sure, that's whatever. They're a blank check. They can play 65 games. Doesn't matter.
But
And LAFC played how many? Also 55, right? At a fraction of the cost.
Can't be. I'm looking it up.
Well, it's 41 in MLS. It's 5. What was it? 4, 5, 6 in US Open
34. 34 in MLS.
No, plus the postseason.
Yeah, but how often do you get? You don't play 7 games in the postseason every year.
It sounds like you're saying that the roster structure is fine for the 6 tournaments.
I'm not. I said obviously it'd be good if. Hold on, I'm gonna look 2020. If I'm saying this is hold on, now I'm counting. 22.
You count. I'll talk for a second.
Okay.
Long story short is there's been a big hankering, right? What's his face? Luis Suarez or whoever, or Andres Iniesta, or no? Inter Miami need a fourth DP spot by January, and the coaches want to open it. Like the writing's on the wall. Our roster's about to open up a little bit more again. Probably not as much as it should. I'm not going to get into my rant. I think MLS roster structure is bonkers. You can play what's his face, $15 million a year, but you can't give any of the other players you can't send any other decent players up in Toronto. And they have with the marketing guys with MLS and full overdrive and CONCACAF and Mexico and them just squeezing every freaking dollar out of these players. Not to mention the Nations League and all these new international tournaments. The players have to play Nations League and Gold Cup and now Copa America as well. It's just there's just games upon games upon games upon games. And MLS has MLS, US Open Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup, then the Leagues Cup, then the one-off Campeones Cup, and God knows what other marketing thing they're going to get there, plus the preseason games. They have a lot of games. They need to be allowed. MLS rosters need a little more flexibility. Right now, an MLS roster can pay about 15 senior players and about 5 to 10 intern players that make senior minimum salary or something like that. I don't know. I have to remind myself what the actual roster structure is. But that needs to open up, I think, is the big. That's the long and short of it. Is we're talking about opening up.
Okay.
I think.
And my point is, you can open it up, and you should open it up all you want, and people will still complain because they're always going to run out the same 11 guys as much as they can, because that's what happens all over the world, even at teams who have unlimited budgets and can have national team players on the bench. LAFC played 41 games last year. Bayern 55.
I mean, all competitions?
All competitions, yeah.
That's surprising. Well, let's now parlay that into season tickets.
Okay.
So MLS is very adamant. They call you Bjorn Schnitzel, and they're like, we are very adamant that there's only 25 players on your team. 10 of them are interns, and 15 of them make $100,000 a year, and then one guy makes $1 million a year, or whatever it is. I don't know what the roster makeup, but they're like, we nickel and dime our players to a T. We have to cut players for cap space all the time. We refuse to pay for players. However, what your role in all this is you're allowed to pay the most expensive season ticket rates in world football. How do you feel about that?
Is that what's happening?
Yeah. Inter Miami just released their season tickets. The big news is the premium box is $45,000.
Well, Inter Miami is not nickel and diming with their budget. They have pretty good players.
$45,000 is the highest season ticket. The highest season ticket at Bayern München is? Yeah. How high is the highest season ticket in Bayern München, Bjorn?
Oh, much less than that. I don't know.
840 euros is the most expensive Bayern München season ticket. It gets you front row center.
That's cheap.
Yeah, it is cheap.
Really? That's the most expensive season tickets in Bayern is 840 euros a season. That cannot be true.
Yeah, it is true. I did the research. According to Deutsche Welle, it's true, and that's not the most.
That can't be the most. That cannot. I refuse to believe that. That cannot be. Maybe it's the average or.
No. I mean, let me look this. Hum for me. Let me look this up.
I mean, yeah. No, I saw
Granted,
this too.
That's not a premium box. I don't think Burnley has premium boxes.
I saw.
That would
they
be
definitely
a
VIP. There's definitely VIP seats in Bayern for sure. I've been to their website. No, it can't be that cheap. But the point is, your point is valid. Tickets are cheaper in Europe. I mean, I don't think I don't know exactly. Premier League's not that cheap either. Premier League is, I think Germany is also an outlier for being pretty cheap.
Bundesliga season ticket prices 23-24. Most expensive seat, the most expensive club in all of the Bundesliga is Köln.
What?
At 978 euros for the season. If you want a cheap season ticket, it's 480 euros for the season. Darmstadt is 800 euros. Borussia Dortmund. These are the most expensive.
These are the most expensive seats.
You want a standing terrace season ticket? That's $250 for the season.
I know. I paid when I was a season ticket holder in Bochum in my college days. I mean, this is a little while ago, but yeah, I paid like the equivalent of like 95 euros for a standing room. With a student, you get a student discount.
Bayern München's only $60 more expensive than that today. Bayern München is 165 euros for a standing seat for the season, 385 for the cheap seats for the season, 840 for the best seat in the house for the season.
Yeah, man.
I mean, the season tickets are cheap. Yeah.
America, man.
So if I pay 840 euros, I was just on the phone with LAFC last week. Their cheapest seats they can give me are going to be $1,000. These are the nosebleeds on the end zone. What's NYCFC like?
I don't know. I don't think they've told me what it is going to be for next year. I have been paying, I think, $2,200 for 4 tickets. So
it's good.
So what is that?
But still,
yeah.
I mean, other England and Spain and Italy are probably higher because Germany is particularly cheap because the 51+1 rule, they dictate their own prices. However, 840 euros for Bayern München versus I'm about to pay $1,200 for LAFC. What, we're paying 50% more for way more than 50% less.
I mean, it's capitalism, right? It's what the market will bear. Supposedly, I mean, it's like you have to the person setting the people setting these prices. They're not comparing it to Bayern because you're not gonna. This is not your.
I know, but it's a sad reality of U.S. soccer. USA versus Germany is going to be $150. If Germany played France in Germany, it'd be half the price.
Right. But you're not going to buy, when you live in Los Angeles, that's not what you're comparing it to. You're comparing it to the Lakers, the Dodgers, and I bet they are considerably more expensive than this. And I think that's where
how would you translate?
That's where your average. No, and I'm not saying it's justified. I'm just saying that's probably where your average MLS executive has their sights set. They're like, oh, if we can get a little closer to NBA and baseball and football rates, then we have a lot of ways. We have a lot of room to grow. I was surprised when they. When I was in this focus group for the stadium, they threw out some ticket prices, and I was really expecting them to really jack them up. But they didn't. It wasn't. I mean, I'm sure they might, but they gave a range, and even the highest range was less than I expected. I guess we're a couple of years away.
$45,000?
No, it was not anything. It was not anything like that. So I don't. It's not that I don't want to say.
Kim Kardashian better be in the same box. I'm paying $45,000. Better be right now. It better be right behind Kim Kardashian.
Miami is a special.
If you know what I mean.
Is a special situation right now because like the flip side, I would say, if you're the team and you see these tickets go on the secondary market for thousands of dollars, you want a little bit of that. Since you're paying the $40 million for or whatever Messi's costing them. So I mean,
he's not playing. They're paying. We didn't.
I thought I saw DC United was raising their prices, and I was like, "Why? that's a little. That makes less sense to me." The Miami thing, but I mean, yeah, it's gonna for better or worse, it's gonna have lasting because they're gonna jack it up. Now people are gonna pay it because of Messi, and then when Messi leaves, what are you gonna do? You're gonna come back down, or
Miami doubled their prices, and a Miami fan was complaining on Reddit, they doubled the prices. And everybody in the league is like, these are our prices. How much were you paying? And it turns out that the Florida teams are pay half as much.
Oh,
Miami doubled.
Okay.
Orlando did not double. Orlando is by a landslide cheaper than any other club in MLS.
Interesting. Oh,
I think the most expensive Orlando City season tickets like $400 or $500 for the good seats for the year. And in LAFC, you can't get in the stadium for under $900. So, granted, LAFC is a little bit not like, but no, St. Louis, everyone was chiming in. We're all chiming in, and it was a big old fest of everyone sharing how much they paid, and it was expensive everywhere. They're all paying a high premium, except for Orlando.
I mean, I still feel like, I feel. And it's not the same. I mean, obviously, although the Yankees weren't great this year either. I still feel like compared to what I'm not a regular in the NBA, but every once in a while I go to a Nets game, or we went to see the Lakers when we were in LA, and like that's big money. And if you're looking for NBA tickets, if you're not looking to sit under the roof, you're definitely well into the 3 digits.
The cheapest Lakers playoff tickets, I think, were $400 for the.
Yeah, I mean that's so it's
unverschämt. How do you? So
this is big. It's outrageous, I guess.
Outrageous,
right?
Yeah,
is the word.
I think
that's big money. That's big money. And so compared to that, when I think about that, I always feel like. I feel good about paying these NYCFC tickets. I have the best seat, I love my seats. I'm like right by the.
Then when you look at the Bundesliga,
my children are ruined. My children are ruined. They're ticket snobs. Every time we go to a concert, and I don't want to pay, for like the floor seats. They're like, these seats suck because they're like used to, like being front row Yankee Stadium. I'm like, anything else you go see is way more expensive. Than the soccer. So, I mean, I think that's going to be a byproduct of things getting better. If they do, they are going to be more expensive.
Here in America, things are twice the price for half the quality. That's all I'm going to say compared to Europe. Just in general, that's all I'm going to say. Because like their baseball's cheaper, but it's also half the. It's not like our baseball's cheaper than their baseball. You know what I mean? They have the best soccer for cheaper. And they have crappier baseball, but it's also still cheaper. So I don't know. Anyway, we're at hour 12. We're 20 minutes.
Let's just make it a one. I don't know. Should we? All right. Yeah.
Let's do a quick Germany one. We gotta because I have it open.
Sounds good.
Got that German stuff.
All right.
I have big news for the Germany hour.
We'll see you on the other side, guys. Oh,
anyway,
I got to play the song.
Seb asked real quick. Says he's renewing his tickets. He's going to sell his Miami tickets. I'm thinking of buying LAFC tickets, and I'm hoping Miami is part of the schedule so I can resell that ticket. Because that would make it worth it for me. But that's a gamble on the West Coast, because we don't know if Inter Miami is coming or not. So, anywho, see you all in Germany. Tschüss, bis nächste Woche. Tschüss.